Well, hi, everybody. I'm Alfonso Rachel here with my friend and colleague, Bill Whittle, and this is the Virtue Signal made possible by the members at BillWhittle.com. Zoe, I thought today we might take a look at something that's really important, is vanishing fast like so many other important things, and doesn't get as much press as it deserves. And that is the idea of civility. Probably the best example I can think of, or at least the first one that comes to mind, is this. Sure, this is not going to make some people happy, but nevertheless, I have been prone to use salty language. But I never use salty language on camera. And the reason I don't do that is because the same reason I don't use it when I'm at Thanksgiving. It's because of respect for other people who aren't comfortable with that. And so civility is the ability to raise your behavior to a level that is acceptable in the public square. It's a way to raise your behavior to a point where just about everybody could accept it. Now, the problem with social justice warriors is that they cannot be made happy no matter what you do. That's an entirely different thing. But civility, kindness, letting people in front of you in traffic, not when I think about how many years I spent doing that kind of, it's like. And it's so that I could what? So I could get a car length ahead on this 2.5-hour slog through the 405. It really is it worth the road rage and the stress it causes me and the stress it causes the other person? Getting married is mostly cured me of that. But this effort, that's the word I'm looking for. This effort to accommodate other people's feelings is what allows people to disagree and allows you to have a free society. You agree to disagree. That is kind of the definition of civility.
I dig it, man, and I'm tempted to be uncivil about you culturally appropriating my name, and we have a violation of cultural appropriation here, Bill.
Violation. We should have the sprinklers are going to come on in a second now.
So no, but I hear what you say, man, about the language. I'm the same way, man. It's I tend to have a mouth like an alligator, and but you're right, man. It's not something that I look to profit off of. It's not a good thing to do.
Well, you control it.
Yeah.
Your videos are not obscenity laced videos.
No. It's aside from I'm always dropping that F word of faith, I reckon a lot of people find that very offensive.
There's a lot more obscene word than the other one in today's climate in a lot of cases. Yes.
Right.
But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
It's all good, man. It's but we call these, it's weird, Bill, because we call these things strong language, and when we talk about civility, it could talk about many things, but like say if we're talking about civility in creative media or people that are publishing things, we see movies or music and say this content has strong language. I'm like, what's strong about it? It's like just because you're dropping F-bomb or the B word or the N word or whichever, it's like that's called strong language. No, that's language. Honestly, it's language for the weak, especially if you want to profit off of it. That's weak language. It's like, well, the word has no power over me. I can say it, and it doesn't mean anything. It's like, no, that word totally has power for you. That word was allowed to kick its way past your teeth and out into the public. And then people want to talk about how, the nation is so immoral and it's corrupt and it's given over to profanity. And it's like, well, look at the things that you excuse. It's like you tolerate, and it's almost like you demand it. I want my content to be real and gritty and use all the nasty language and all that sort of stuff. And then they want to complain about where the country is going.
Yeah. In the words of the current press secretary, I want to circle back to that in a minute. But for now, probably the most automatic daily habit of civility is holding the door for somebody. And one of the things that constantly gives me hope and reassurance, despite all of the turmoil that's being ginned up out there, is I can't tell you how many times I will hold the door for a complete stranger. It might be a policeman, it might be a black guy who is not the kind of person who you would think would associate with me based on what I'm being told by the social justice warriors. I'm the oppressor, he's the oppressed. I don't know how many times he has either held the door for me or I've held the door for him and just said, thank you, you're welcome. And you realize in those instances like that, just like that, you realize that this whole thing is is to such a large degree manufactured. You're supposed to feel this resentment and rage and hatred. And yet, this country is so profoundly decent at its core that an enormous reserve of civility still exists out there. And it reminds us that all of this is based on individuals. It's all based on what kind of people we are as individuals.
Sure, man. And day to day, it can change. There is no one thing that's going to say that the country is one way or the other. And I, man, like you, man, I appreciate those days where it's like, I wish that was, the macrocosm of everything. When you have those moments where somebody opens the door for you, you open the door for them. It's just that simple gesture, man, of saying, hey, thanks, man. Have a good day. And it's like, it almost makes your day where you just want to see the world that, hey, man, that's how it is, man, or at least that's how it should be. And then you turn around and say, hey, man, where's all the toilet paper? Because some greedy people came in there and you see people fighting over toilet paper or anything like that. And you're just wondering, what kind of world are we living in? So day to day, it's give and take about people can be really lousy. And then sometimes we have the capacity to be both. And, so as we live this thing out in terms of civility, once again, it comes down to what is the standard of civility? What is it to really be civil towards people? And one could say that, hey, well, being civil is doing unto others as you would have them do unto you. Once again, though, according to what? Because you got people who will do to themselves rotten things, right? They'll do rotten things to themselves. And I wouldn't want them doing those things to me. So it's like, if you think that that's love, you keep that to yourself, right?
Absolutely. And like I said, I think this particular kind of virtue is largely unsung. I think it's a lot more important than people realize, because I think the exercise of civility very dramatically impacts your day-to-day life in terms of how do you feel now, or how do you feel for this last hour? Somebody cut me off in traffic. They went down the right side of the lane where emergency vehicles are supposed to be to cut in the line, so I get ahead of 3 cars, and now I'm enraged and I got my fangs and my claws out and I'm just sitting here stressed. On the other hand, you have a situation where you're stuck in a line, you got your turn signal on, somebody waves you in, and now all of a sudden you're filled with this sense that the world's not a bad place at all. Thank you.
Right.
I'm happy. I'm grateful. I feel when somebody lets me in traffic in Los Angeles, nothing fills me with the idea of the brotherhood of man more than having somebody let me in traffic in Los Angeles. But I'm not joking. It really does change your mood for 10 minutes or for an hour or for the day or whatever the case may be. It's really, really important.
Sure, man. And I tell you what, man, if there's any time that I kind of get, and the thing that makes me angry about driving, Bill, if I can just really quick, is that I'm really the kind of driver that really likes to mind his own business. It's like, but if a person like tailgates me, right, I can become very uncivil. It's like, man, I'm already going over the speed limit. Why are you tailgating me? It's like, it would be, instead of staying behind me trying to control the way that I drive, it would be so much faster for you to just go around. You got to speed up to go around anyway, and you want to go faster, just go around, right? And that will get me like brake checking, man. I'm almost ready to get out of my car and fight, right?
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Because it's an act of aggression.
Yes.
It's an act of aggression. He is driving in an unsafe fashion because he wants to make it clear to you that you're not driving as fast as he would like. He's trying to essentially push you down the road through intimidation. He could just go around you, but he's not. It's an actual kind of an assault on you psychologically, and you respond the way most men would respond, and that is, okay. We want to get into this,
right?
And this is, and then I find when these situations happen to me, I'm just adrenalized for 2 hours.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it haunts you, man.
I'm snappy and
it does, man. It just makes
me want to vote Democrat sometimes. That's how bad it gets.
Exactly right. Because these, especially living in LA County, man, it's like, aren't these the people who are all about sharing the wealth and they don't even want to share the road with you? It's like the road is all theirs, And but Bill, man, that kind of stuff made me forget what I was getting ready to talk about. I don't need to be on the road right now, Bill. Look what you done. Look what you done.
I'm sorry about that. My wife just got her permanent resident card and the restrictions removed, so she's here forever, as long as she wants to be. And the thing that was most The worst part about marrying a woman from Russia was hearing that the roads in LA are more filthy and certainly in worse condition than they are in Cairo or Istanbul. That wasn't fun. But the best part about it was, and remains, she is absolutely gobsmacked to this day at how nice everybody is. Even in Los Angeles, how nice they are. How you doing? Oh, good, thanks. You some checkout clerk in a supermarket, and the idea that this person is how are you? Good, I'm fine. In Russia, they scan them and throw them, and you got to catch them and bag them, or else they're going on the floor. And I think a lot of that comes from the fact that in a socialist country where everything is controlled by something else, including your income, your housing, you have no control over anything. You're naturally bitter and envious of everyone, and you want everybody else to fail because it's the only way you can get ahead. But in this culture, civility is built into freedom and it's built into prosperity. It's very difficult to be civil when conditions are utterly miserable and have been for 100 years. But here, people are just nice. When I was in college, I was a theater major in college, and this theater group came in from, I guess it was Luxembourg. Might have been the Netherlands. Is there a difference? Who cares?
It's not very civil, Bill.
But they were Europeans, and they came to America for a couple days to put on a show. They went down to Oaks Mall in Gainesville, and they came back furious. And they were mad because they were tired of being taken advantage of. I said, what do you mean? He said, everybody's smiling. Everybody's saying, have a nice day. Everybody's asking me if I want a receipt. They're asking me how I'm feeling. All of this is just a ploy to get me to spend more money. And I just looked at this guy and said, no, they really want you to have a nice day. It doesn't cost them anything to say have a nice day. It doesn't cost them anything to be nice to you. And that kind of just wanton disrespect is so built into that socialist culture. The person I know who grew up under socialism, who had such an effect on me when I was a teenager, was a guy who immigrated from Bulgaria. And he said the worst thing about communism is not the camps, it's not the secret police, all of that's terrifying. He said the worst thing about it is that every single moment of every single day you are reminded in scores of ways that you mean nothing. You want your toilets backed up? Make a phone call, go down, fill out the forms in triplicate, and somebody will be there within 30 days. And if you have to wait in line to see if there's anything inside the store that you're waiting in line to see, same for you. And all of this is the stuff that makes people uncivil, and this country remains kind of a oasis of generosity and kindness and friendliness, and everybody from elsewhere notices it.
Yeah, but in a country, I hear you, Bill, man, in a country where you have the God-given right to pursue happiness.
That's built into our structure, the pursuit of happiness.
Right?
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, it's an amazing thing, And I would like to think that people are maybe now not taking that, in this generation, aren't taking that so much for granted. You can go into a store and people are like, have a nice day and whatnot. That's a different thing than when you have a system or an institution where the state owns the industry. Because if the state owns the industry, well, they basically own you. You a serf, and they own what it is that you make, and which by I guess default means that they own you. And here we still have that sovereignty of we have that our autonomy.
Sovereignty,
where
that's the word, man. That's the word.
You know what I'm saying? Where we're still free to work, or if we want to go ahead and get another job, or and I think a little bit of it also is that maybe people, when I talk about being free to work, it's like maybe people know that, hey, right now I'm really lucky to be able to work. I'm like doing this whole COVID and things like that. I'm lucky to be able to be back at my job. Maybe some people are realizing, hey, maybe those stimulus things, they only go so far,
$1,400 for a year of being out of work that we've closed you for. You closed your restaurant for a year, here's $1,400.
Yes, right. So maybe people are somewhere in those things, those cogwheels are spinning and a light is going on. So, hey, let's take advantage of that, because I tell you what, Bill, sometimes, maybe people think that it's fake because it's all about money or anything like that. But when you're free to enjoy the fruits of your labor, sometimes that's an okay incentive, right? Say, hey, I need to be able to pay my rent. I want to be able to pursue my interests and stuff like that. And that's not a bad incentive to be, hey, you know what? Maybe I need to be a little bit friendly.
So just to wrap it up, this to me is what is so disturbing, at least on a day-to-day basis, about the whole wokeopolis, right? Is that the entire philosophy is the philosophy of grievance. That's all it is. It's a contest to see who has the biggest grievances, and then using critical theory, we know why they do it. They're doing it to attack the center. They're doing it to attack the middle and just chop it to pieces so that they can control it. But all of this social justice stuff is the politics of grievance. It's the politics of being just, I almost said a different word. It's the policy of being ticked off at somebody else. Yeah. It's the policy of constantly reminding everybody that everybody should be fighting. You should be fighting them. You can't be nice to this person. How dare you have a friendly tweet about that person when he's your oppressor? And it goes on and on and on and on and on. And I really worry that a generation that's raised in that atmosphere is not only not going to be nice, but they're not going to be pursuing happiness. They're going to be avoiding criticism. And that is an entirely different way to live your life. And that is the real nightmare of like Soviet Russia or Nazi Germany or any of this stuff. When you are no longer doing what you want to do, when now everything you're doing is carefully calibrated to make sure that you're not doing anything wrong.
Indeed, man. And it's just like you said, these people they're no longer pursuing happiness. We see a lot of people pursuing misery. And, like I said, we see both. I think the thing that's propagandized the most and the thing that's being made fashionable is that there has to be this grievance. We have to constantly publish this narrative of grievance in the world, and America is so miserable, especially when it comes to, and I hate to bring up this can of worms, man, but especially when it comes to race relations, that everybody is so miserable and everybody's just walking, not everybody, white people in particular are made to walk on eggshells. And, and it's man, it's just the Democrats all day. All right, they're not done. All right, they're the quintessential rebels that the Constitution was talking about. When the Constitution talks about the rebellious, it's talking about them. When the Bible is talking about rebellion, it's talking about them. And with the Civil War, all over the obsession of race. Right? And it's today. This is the same thing. Democrats have not changed. This obsession that they have with race and using the black community and the plight that they imposed on the black community to get whatever they want. And it's causing this incivility with each other. And, these are the kinds of things when you can make a victim out of somebody. And we're going to make sure that we're going to do unfair things to make everything fair and get rid of these classes where we just go from socialism and training into communism. When we do these things, once again, Bill, it talks to that uncivil action of slander. Right? That nasty, detestable thing that, you're going to use this slander to make sure that everybody's miserable, and where you could have the government step in and say, well, we can make everybody happy. We're back to it. That lesson was taught to us a long time ago. And I hope people wake up to it before it's too late.
Yeah. How can I take you seriously? And how can you call yourself a virtuous person? You're not furious all the time.
That's like supposed to be the definition of what it is to be woke.
Yeah, the angrier you are, the more virtuous you are, the more woke you are, the more aware of all of the historical problems that you are. And everybody's angry all the time. And I cannot stand these inhuman, unfunny, arrogant weenies.
Yeah.
But I will hold the door for them unless I know in advance that they're a social justice warrior, in which case I'll block the door. I have my limits, as do you.
Heard that.
That'll do it for this edition of The Virtue Signal, made possible by the new member drive we had back in January. We'll do another one, I think, in April. But for all of us here, for my friend Alfonso, Rachel, thanks to the new members, thanks to the members that have been there the whole time. And we will see you next time right here on The Virtue Signal.